I honestly believed I understood power better than anyone else. In my mind, it simply meant standing your ground and throwing punches. Power was charging blindly into the fray and refusing to fall back. It was about acting as a human shield for the defenseless, regardless of the personal toll. That was the doctrine drilled into my head. I lived and breathed that philosophy over decades of grueling combat drills and endless bloodshed. Each jagged mark across my skin whispered a tale of sheer defiance, earned while battling shoulder to shoulder with my pack against that despotic Alpha King Micah, the bastard who hijacked our territory and forced us out. Yet this evening, while my comrades partied wildly around the blazing fire, swapping bottles and bragging about their kills from the recent skirmish, I was about to discover my brutal combat skills were completely useless. Everything went wrong the second Kai squeezed my shoulder and whispered in my ear. "Take a stroll with me?" he requested, claiming we needed privacy for a secret chat. I went along without a single doubt. Obviously, this guy was my absolute closest confidant, practically my own flesh and blood, the heir apparent I swore to defend with my dying breath and crown as the legitimate ruler of our people. The woods were utterly silent beneath the glaring moonlight, and his signature aroma, crisp winter air mixed with rich resin, felt incredibly comforting. "Here is to winning," he declared, passing over a flask. "And to 100 more," I echoed, taking a massive gulp. Fire coated my throat instantly, lacking the familiar warmth of cheap booze. This tasted absolutely toxic. Before the realization fully hit, my muscles turned to lead. His name tumbled out as the metal container crashed to the dirt. "What did you do?" He grabbed my collapsing frame, carefully setting me down on the damp earth. "Apologies it came to this, little wolf," he whispered. Then the blade appeared, catching the pale silver beams. I desperately wanted to thrash, kick, survive, but paralysis had fully set in. Every ounce of my raw power and decades of lethal conditioning were entirely worthless. Paralyzed, defenseless, and completely mute, I was on the verge of realizing that genuine power had absolutely nothing to do with winning battles or collecting wounds. It actually came down to how you reacted when your entire reality crumbled into dust. And when your absolute, fiercest loyalties violently turned against you, I had to figure out that real bravery meant rising from the ashes, trading my sharp claws and brutal punches for sheer, unyielding endurance. The sort of fortitude that required clinging to a sliver of light when absolute darkness tried to swallow you whole. The willpower to keep my spirit breathing after backstabbing treason ripped it apart. My entire existence was built on being a weapon. Today marked my crash course in actual toughness. Because eventually, a sharp blade would not be enough to save me. I desperately required the guts to fall for someone, to show faith, and to wield raw empathy as my deadliest arsenal. Chapter 1. Coming to feels exactly like getting trampled by an 18-wheeler. Maybe a whole convoy of them, plus a runaway train. My skull throbs violently, making me briefly assume I just drank way too much moonshine. That definitely would not be a first, or even the 10th time. Then my traitorous friend's cold stare invades my memory. The silver blade, the toxic burn, the total paralysis. My fingers claw frantically at my own ribs, hunting for a fatal puncture that simply does not exist. Praise the heavens above. Just a wicked, bad dream, I mutter under my breath. Yet the sensation was terrifyingly vivid. The copper tang coating my tongue, that icy, woodsy fragrance of his. Hold up, what the hell is this place? I pry my eyelids open, instantly blinded by the most ridiculously opulent bedroom ever constructed. This mattress by itself has more square footage than my crappy tent back at the Rebel base. Woven satin blankets and heavy plush drapes. The exact level of extreme wealth I only encounter while plundering noble territories. Way before my brain can even compute the situation, the heavy wooden door flies wide as a pair of maids stumble inside, basically face-planting over their formal dresses. "Oh my gosh, you opened your eyes!" the first one shrieks. We were terrified. I frantically scan the room to see who she is addressing, but there is literally no one else hiding in the shadows. "Miss Landra, has the pain faded?" the second servant questions, gently slapping her chilly palm against my burning brow. I attempt to smack her wrist away, but my arm moves like jelly. It is way too delicate. Every single nerve misfires, like I am zipped up inside a stranger's skin. "Who the heck is Lisan?" I try to demand, only to be cut off by someone else barging in. A lady decked out in a jade gown marches in, reeking of expensive perfume and the sweet scent of an omega wolf. "Lysandra, my sweet, sweet girl, what on earth possessed you?" She snatches my fingers, and I am honestly too shell-shocked by the whole daughter thing to rip my arm away. "Madam," a servant interjects softly, "the pack doctor insisted Landra requires rest to—" "Hold the phone," I interject, finally locating my vocal cords. The sound escapes wildly high-pitched. "You guys definitely have the wrong person. Praise the heavens she has not lost her voice." The jade-wearing lady gasps, especially with her wedding right around the corner. Could you picture the scandal if she ended up completely silent? Or dead? She gives a dramatic, horrified little quiver. "Listen, sweetheart," I press on, putting some distance between us. "Whatever identity you've pinned on me is wrong, and I sure as hell ain't getting hitched. Understand?" Everyone gapes as if I just sprouted horns. "What's with this commoner slang?" The woman in emerald mutters to the servants. "I'm right here," I growl, though it lacks my typical lethal edge. "I am definitely not Landra, all right?" The sudden strike across my face shocks me, not missing the incoming hand, but registering the genuine pain. Normally, a weak little smack from an omega wouldn't even register on my radar. "Landra Evangeline Victoria," she screeches. "Don't you dare believe playing pretend will cancel these nuptials." I deliver a supposedly brutal counterstrike. Yet, rather than dropping her unconscious like normal, she merely shrieks and trips backward, cradling her face. Things are seriously messed up right now. Still, showing vulnerability isn't an option. "You've got some nerve striking me," I glare. "Pull that stunt twice, and I'll chop off those fingers." Seriously, she abuses her own flesh and blood like this? Suddenly, having no parents feels like a massive blessing. "Miss," a servant breathes out, grabbing onto me. "Since when do you defend yourself?" "That little hit? Just a flick of the joint," I boast, rotating my hand to show off. Pushing myself up from the mattress, my knees immediately buckle. My entire equilibrium feels scrambled, as if my core weight just vanished. My inner beast seems terribly altered, too. Weaker, weirdly subdued. "Shall we assist you with dressing?" A helper grabs hold of me. "His Majesty requested your presence." I turn to ice. "Wait, run that title by me again?" "Exactly," the emerald-clad woman snarks, assuming I finally understand. "Alpha King Micah intends to welcome you to his lands personally." My pulse completely drops out. I am an enemy prisoner. Impossible. I am Arya, the devil canine, top of his hit list. The insurgent stealing his cargo, slaughtering his patrols, and ruining his existence for ages. The bounty on me exceeds entire territorial fortunes. Yet somehow, I am sitting smack in the middle of his turf. "What's our location?" I choke out. "Outskirts?" "Hardly, my dear," the woman sneers. "We reside within the royal estate." His freaking castle? Holy hell, I ought to be shackled in some dark, subterranean cell. His enforcers spent literal decades hunting me. I bet their strategy quarters feature a massive bulletin board solely focused on my demise. Then why am I getting the royal treatment in a lavish suite? A sliver of optimism sparks inside me. Maybe my identity remains a secret. Granted, I've never crossed paths with the ruler himself. The prince, though? That is another issue entirely. "Is Rafe around?" I forcefully clear my windpipe. "I mean, the royal heir? Has he arrived?" "Indeed, he returned yesterday evening," the snobby woman replies, flashing an overly bright grin that forces a hard swallow from me. I am totally screwed. One look from Rafe, and I am a corpse. While my brain scrambles for exit strategies, the attendants pull me toward a dressing glass. Glancing up, I debate snatching someone as leverage, until I freeze. Staring back from the glass is an unfamiliar female. This has to be that Landra chick. A fragile doll with big azure peepers, plush, rosy lips, and tumbling blonde curls. Her reflection mirrors my absolute bewilderment. I let out a mocking scoff at the absurd contrast, and she mimics the sound, though it seems unnatural on those flawless features. My brow furrows in annoyance at the copycat routine. Immediately, her regal visage scrunches into the exact same scowl. Pure ice drops into my gut. Inch by inch, I lift a palm to my own face. The blonde stranger perfectly matches the movement. My digits, now tiny, delicate, and completely alien, graze over a pristine complexion devoid of battle marks. I inch closer to the glass. She closes the distance. I flash my canines. She exposes hers. Flawless, gleaming teeth. Zero battle damage anywhere. Impossible, I breathe out, watching those soft, rosy lips form the exact same word. The shriek erupting from my lungs, from these foreign, delicate vocal cords, sounds absolutely nothing like a fighter's battle cry. Chapter 2. My brain is short-circuiting over which crisis to panic about. Am I more terrified of being magically imprisoned inside the flesh of a royal weakling named Landra, or the reality that I am wandering around a hostile stronghold without getting murdered? A sentinel literally bent the knee. To me. Normally those guys aim blades at my skull. It feels entirely bizarre. Everything since I woke up is just madness. I was given a legitimate soak in a tub loaded with floating flowers, followed up by top-tier caffeine and warm baked goods. And currently, I am wrapped in a designer frock easily worth triple my entire life's savings. I'm plastered in makeup. A totally useless effort since this host body already resembles a fragile ceramic figurine. "Quit moving," snaps the lady wearing emerald, supposedly my mom. "You're behaving like some lowly subordinate." Biting my tongue keeps me from sharing my actual, lowly opinions about her snobbery. Messing up this chance isn't an option. Standing directly inside the hostile stronghold, I'm basically given free rein. My best friend will crack up hearing how the monster easily slipped past their defenses. Just his name squeezes my heart. A sudden mental flash shows silver gleaming in darkness. The scent of icy resin hits me, along with a phantom stabbing pain. Definitely a nightmare, nothing more. He'd never harm me. He's my chosen leader, a sibling, the rightful ruler, and my entire reason for overthrowing the current dictator. "Lysandra?" My supposed mother snaps. "You're projecting your emotions everywhere. Reel it in." That's another bizarre detail. People constantly analyze my aroma like I'm a delicate blossom about to wither. Whenever I'm in my actual skin, folks simply gag and complain about filthy outcasts ruining the air. Plus, I constantly have to tilt my head back to see faces. Being this tiny is a total nightmare. I'm practically a toddler attending a regal feast. Yet seeing these beasts pamper me with gentle murmurs and cautious steps makes me realize why her caste holds such strange power. Massive wooden doors swing wide as a herald introduces our party using an absurd string of honorifics. Hundreds of eyes lock onto me, followed by instant gossip. Gorgeous. A flawless little mate. A monarch-to-be? Wait, is his heir taking a bride? An irrational wave of anger floods my veins. Then my gaze lands on the sovereign himself, the vicious ruler I've dedicated my entire existence to ruining. Dominating the focal point of the chamber, his aura is suffocating. My lungs completely freeze. He shares his son's gaze, that identical piercing sapphire color that constantly invades my sleeping mind. Definitely not because they're attractive. It's purely tactical, since I'm forever plotting my victory for our upcoming skirmish. Period. I absolutely never dwell on the way those irises warm during a chuckle, or their amber flare when I score a punch. The monarch's booming greeting snaps my attention away from those completely non-existent romantic daydreams. "Greetings. Your child lives up to her gorgeous reputation." Getting practically ignored by my sworn nemesis shouldn't irritate me in the slightest, yet this borrowed delicate frame hates feeling invisible. Suddenly, a panicked sentinel crashes into the grand chamber. "My liege, a visitor awaits." The ruler tries brushing him aside, Yet the soldier stands his ground. "My lord, look at this," the man urges, vibrating with nervous panic. With a heavy exhale, the king finally agrees. Suddenly, the entire universe halts as my closest companion strides forward, my gorgeous, cherished friend. I nearly rush toward him, barely catching myself behind this fake persona. In his arms rests a crimson-soaked bundle, instantly flooding the hall with the cloying stench of decay. Mighty ruler. My partner dips his chin with sickening respect, instantly freezing the veins in my body. Has he lost his mind? He's addressing the thief who robbed him of his throne and forced our banishment. Watching my leader grovel like a low-ranking mutt forces my fingers into such brutal fists that my fragile manicured hands bleed. If our pack witnessed this, if his mother saw him groveling. The king looks amused. "Nephew, what an unexpected reunion. Either you have guts or you lack a brain." My friend lowers himself further, forcing me to swallow a feral growl. "This entire situation is a twisted nightmare. Give me one reason not to lock you away." Remaining perfectly calm, my companion answers, "Because, my liege, I am here pledging my absolute loyalty." The crowd explodes into shocked murmurs. A scoff echoes nearby. "Why should I trust that?" the ruler challenges coldly. "Your family has relentlessly attacked my borders just to steal my heir's rightful position." "She is acting like an idiot," he replies, leaving me utterly stunned. "This endless battling is pointless. We are completely outgunned and starving." Suddenly you feel sympathy for the poor souls you manipulated? Manipulated? I silently gnash my teeth. The sheer audacity. Our forces have never been stronger. I'm literally standing disguised inside his fortress. "I bring proof of my devotion," my friend states cautiously, lowering the grisly package. "Consider this an offering. Your ultimate threat is gone." Murmurs ripple through the onlookers, while confusion knots my brow. Who could he possibly mean? Then he yanks away the burial cloth, and my heart flatlines. That's me staring back. My actual physical form rests there, dead-eyed and frozen in absolute horror. Crimson crusts my dark locks, my torso mangled by countless blade strikes. Behold the carcass of the hellhound Arya Storm, my liege. Denial screams through my brain as I stare at the gruesome display. This can't be real. The Alpha himself rises in utter shock. "Did you actually?" he stammers out. "Indeed, my lord," my betrayer answers, sounding sickeningly boastful. "I took her life with my own hands to secure peace and prove my ultimate loyalty." Copper floods my tongue as the memory hits. The blade plunging deep, his signature chilled amber aura, his gentle strokes through my curls while slaughtering me. No nightmare, just brutal reality. The boy I considered family, my absolute rock, took my life. Chapter 3. Reality shatters into jagged, agonizing shards. That is my physical form. The very vessel I was born into, tossed lifeless on the tiles, slain by my closest confidant, the man I considered kin. He repeatedly drove a blade into my flesh, stroking my head as if euthanizing a beloved pet. After all our shared battles and my endless sacrifices, our entire wolf clan bled for this supposed true heir. Guarding his and Zara's lives was our sacred calling, yet he just tossed my remains to our sworn rival like some macabre party favor. Every fiber of my being yearns to shriek, to violently rattle him until he gives me a damn reason. Tremors rack my fists, begging for violence. Heavens above, child. A woman's nails pierce my bicep. This is absolute perfection. That wretch threatened our entire clan. Suddenly, the crowd's demeanor registers. They're beaming, erupting into cheers. A few even break into applause, treating my demise like a festival. Vertigo hits hard. My lifeless shell is dumped on the ground, taken out by my confidant while these monsters rejoice, showering him with accolades for ending my existence. Meanwhile, I'm cursed to witness this nightmare play out. Drawing breath becomes impossible. Then, a rich baritone shatters the static in my head. "Ah, my boy, the alpha purrs, practically vibrating with excitement. Perfect timing. You've got first-hand experience dealing with that hellhound. Care to verify these remains? Onlookers split like the Red Sea, murmurs cascading down the newly formed aisle. Despite my shattered psyche, I instantly feel the atmosphere snap taut the second he steps forward. Rafe. He glides past the spectators with that sickeningly familiar, lethal smoothness. Pure, coiled danger wrapped in striking sophistication. My gaze locks onto the tiny mark slicing through his brow, a souvenir from our brutal warehouse showdown. He repaid the favor by permanently carving up my jaw, or rather, my former physical jaw. We always settled our scores in blood. The arrogant prick will undoubtedly relish my demise just like the rest of them. Another bitter enemy toasting to my downfall. Yet another knife in my back. Only this particular blow squeezes my heart with an emotion suspiciously different from anger. My fists tremble, picturing his triumphant grin looming over my remains, especially since he didn't deliver the fatal blow himself. The absolute nerve of him. Allowing a proxy to steal his kill? I'd never have permitted another soul to end his life in my place. He belonged to me, my prey, my rival, my ultimate conquest. Had some random interloper tried stealing my victory, I would have shredded them to pieces with my bare hands. He should have craved my blood by his own hands, mirroring my exact obsession with destroying him. Yet, as he drops beside my corpse, his posture lacks any gloating. His features show zero pleasure. Instead, he appears chiseled from a glacier, utterly apathetic. Heavens, he doesn't even care that I'm gone. It means absolutely nothing to him. Zero emotion. I've never felt like such a massive idiot. Those lethal, combat-hardened fingers hesitantly peel back the shroud. The entire hall goes dead silent. My murderer physically stiffens. "Explain this," Rafe demands, his tone dangerously flat and eerily hushed. He grazes the fabric right over the battle mark he gifted me. "An offering for the Alpha, dear cousin." The traitor's voice drips with toxic honey. "An offering?" Rafe echoes the word. "Are you out of your damn mind?" A peaceful gesture. My former brother pivots to the leader, and his next sentence fuels my absolute fury. He possesses all our secrets, safe houses, contacts, strategies. He's volunteering to burn our entire legacy to the ground. Backstabbing scum. Yet my voice fails. I can barely inhale. This delicate new vessel isn't built for such intense fury. The sheer pressure is tearing it apart. "So, what is your asking price?" "Safe harbor," the traitor replies to Micah's inquiry. "Just grant me entry into your ranks, Alpha. Let me show my worth." "Absolute bullshit," Rafe growls. And surprisingly, we are on the exact same page. Why would we ever rely on a rat who turned on his own family without blinking? His gaze drops back to my corpse, a brief shadow of emotion crossing his features. "Weren't you too close?" he murmurs, his tone growing gravelly. "She constantly sang your praises." The world spins on its axis. Did I actually praise him? Probably. I adored that man, gave him my blind faith, and would have traded my life for his. Hell, I actually did trade my life for his. "Your proposal has merit," Micah declares, though his words echo as if through a long tunnel. "I will allow you to demonstrate your devotion." "Dad, really?" Rafe's incredulous objection pierces through my mental haze. "You cannot be serious." "I absolutely can." "Our territory does not harbor turncoats." The prince mirrors my exact sentiments, though keeping a grip on reality is becoming impossible. Vertigo takes over completely. "You do not wear the crown yet, boy." The Alpha's retort sounds completely submerged. A deafening ringing fills my head, completely swallowing whatever is said next. An unbearable pressure caves my ribs inward, while shadows begin to swarm my peripheral sight. Right before oblivion claims me entirely, my final sight is Rafe's fingers lingering against the shroud draped over my lifeless features. Chapter 4. Consciousness returns amidst the absurdly lavish sheets of Lysandra's chambers, with a flock of servants fretting overhead. Night has fallen, and mercifully that emerald terror named Isolde has vanished. "You have been out cold for several hours, miss." A servant gently presses a chilled rag against my feverish brow. "The madam was wrong to force you outside so quickly following the incident." Incident? I desperately want clarification, yet my brain is already overflowing with chaos. Kai plunging a knife in my back, staring at my own corpse. The enemy throwing a literal festival over my demise. The sheer gravity of reality slams into my chest. Decades spent shedding blood, waging war, and forcing my body past breaking points. Endless evenings sweating through brutal drills. The violent clashes that nearly sent me to the goddess. The covert strikes where I stained my hands with blood just to protect Kai. I sacrificed it all for him. My innocence, my steadfast devotion, my entire existence. For what reward? A lethal betrayal, and him partying with hostiles over my unburied bones. A profound emptiness hollows out my ribcage. Yet taking a breath, I realize I am still very much breathing. By some twisted miracle, fate handed me a do-over. Perhaps there is a cosmic reason behind it. Escaping is an option. The realization strikes like lightning. The whole world believes Arya Storm has perished. I could vanish completely, wipe the slate clean. Wearing this gorgeous, submissive exterior, absolutely any territory would gladly take me in without question. Then the memories of my fellow warriors surface, the fierce soldiers who bled right next to me. My mind drifts to Zara, the woman who rescued a malnourished, lone wolf child, recognizing my potential, sharpening my skills, and giving me her unwavering faith. The very same Zara who stood solo against the Alpha's oppressive reign. Walking away from my people is simply impossible. A wicked grin spreads across my face as a strategy takes shape. Nobody suspects that this delicate shell hides Arya Storm's soul. I am sitting directly inside the hostile capital, flawlessly positioned to steal their secrets, to silence Kai before he spills all our tactical advantages, and crucially, to personally slaughter the traitor. That prick genuinely believes he can assassinate me and play the conquering hero over my dead body. Again, I refuse to sleep until his reputation is ashes and his life is extinguished. My personal brand of karma involves cold, sharp steel. The mission is simple. Play the role, flutter my pretty eyes, and pretend to be fragile. Piece of cake. "Hey, you!" I single out a servant. "Fetch me some liquor. My brain needs fuel." The women swap bewildered glances. "Which herbal steep do you prefer, mistress? Perhaps some lavender or mint?" "What the hell is that leafy garbage?" "Hard pass. I want actual alcohol. Pour me a triple measure of whiskey, neat." Retreating back into my scheming, a dark thrill surges through my veins at the thought of unmasking myself just as Kai takes his final breath. "Mistress?" A servant breaks through my gorgeous murder daydream. "Shall we get you dressed to receive your betrothed?" "The madam demanded it the moment you regained consciousness." I totally blanked on this girl's upcoming marriage. Talk about a massive hurdle. Deceiving a man who supposedly knows her inside out will be treacherous, but holy hell. Am I actually forced to act like a love-struck puppy for some stranger? Repulsive. I pose a strategic question while they shove me inside another suffocating gown. Just how tight are my intended and I? If you had to rate our romance from 1 to 10, where do we land? The attendants share deeply awkward glances. "Truthfully, miss, the two of you have been separated since you were kids. Instant affection is hardly a realistic expectation." "Rest easy, though," her companion chimes in fast. "With your stunning looks and grace, the future king is bound to be completely smitten before you know it." I check myself out in the glass, puffing up slightly since, honestly, anyone would worship these features. Until reality hits me. "Hold on, Raphael?" I demand. The servant winces. "Indeed, miss." "Are you seriously saying," my tone takes a lethal dip, "that I am bound to Rafe?" The girls share anxious glances. He might be rough around the edges, yet as crown prince, it is a tremendous privilege. Damn it, that confirms it, I conclude. My heart races as they tie up my powder blue gown. If the Alpha discovers my true identity, I am entirely screwed. He would execute me instantly. Catching sight of myself in the looking glass again, I pause. This fragile stranger is the polar opposite of Arya Storm. She possesses giant doe eyes, a plush mouth, a tiny midsection, and an unexpectedly full figure. My very pheromones have changed. He will never figure this out. Absolutely impossible. Honestly, this presents a rather entertaining opportunity. A soft laugh escapes my lips just picturing the scenario. That arrogant, soon-to-be monarch, utterly captivated by his greatest rival hiding in the skin of an innocent mate. Shivers of pure delight dance across my skin. The man might actually pen awful verses praising my looks. Heavens above. Imagine if he attempts to sing beneath my window. I am practically howling with amusement as the attendants guide me down the corridor. "Miss?" one questions, visibly confused by my outburst. Brushing her off, I revel in the comedic gold of Rafe groveling for my attention. His eyes dripping with adoration, his hands trembling with desire. My mind conjures the feeling of his digits tracing my jaw, his strong grip anchoring my hips while trapping me flush against the plaster. Would his mouth be tender or driven by pure... "We have arrived, miss," the servant interrupts, guiding me into a cozy parlor. "Are you unwell?" she presses, looking concerned. "Your cheeks are quite red." "Merely thrilled," I answer, coughing softly to recover. Peeking into a fancy glass, I pin back a loose wave. I hardly give a damn about my appearance, obviously. My only goal is selling this masquerade flawlessly. As the entrance swings wide, the entire space seemingly shrinks. His trademark aroma of burning timber and rich wood hits me, except it is overwhelmingly potent now. His aura has never suffocated me this intensely. "Lady Landra," he acknowledges. I pivot on my heel, smiling brightly. "Hi there." I offer an adorable little flutter of my fingers, though his brow arches in response. Maybe well-bred society girls do not welcome their future husbands like that. Who cares? My stunning visage will distract him from any manners. "Good to see you recovered," he mutters frostily. Has the man always been a towering mountain of muscle? His frame blocks the entire threshold. Unprecedentedly, I am forced to tilt my head entirely back just to meet his gaze. Previously, we stood at almost equal heights. Today, his sheer mass shadows my petite form, dripping with raw pack supremacy. "Inform my staff should you require any assistance," he snaps briskly. Following the most minuscule jerk of his chin imaginable, he pivots to leave. Hold up. What happened to the desperate shifter falling to pieces over his beautiful mate? This feels like a scam. "Not staying for a chat?" I blabber. "This evening does not work." Without throwing a single glance my way, he adds, "Get some sleep." I suddenly notice a missing detail. His signature arrogant grin is gone. That jerk never failed to sneer at me. At least, he always sneered at Arya. The heavy wood shuts, and that quiet latching sound echoes far worse than a violent bang. Chapter 5. Morning arrives with a legion of attendants swarming my bed as though I were terminally ill. "Miss, your evening meal went completely uneaten," someone scolds gently. I dismiss her fussing, my brain spinning up new schemes. Following that pathetic encounter with my fiancé, I have a single goal: uncover Kai's scheme and destroy the prick. Uncomplicated and vicious, my favorite approach. Honestly, the Alpha's total lack of interest in his new bride might be a blessing. Let him sulk in a corner. It keeps him from meddling in my business. Truly, a flawless setup. "That scowl is back, miss," Peggy, one of my servants, observes with a cheeky grin. I am not scowling. Snapping to attention, I almost crack skulls with her. "Do you have the intel I requested?" The women share a secretive look. "Indeed, miss. They shoved Lord Kai into the Western Annex. They have him surrounded by security around the clock." Excellent news. "Keep going," I urge. Penny drops her volume to a whisper. A sentry named Tommen let slip that they are hauling the prisoner to the boss's personal study in 30 minutes. Ideal. Tossing the covers aside, I declare my intention to join. The servants gawk at me as if I claimed I could levitate. Join who, miss? To the gathering, of course. 20 minutes pass, and stuffed into an awful pastel gown that makes me resemble a loofah, I march toward the boardroom with my anxious attendants trailing close. Yet a sudden aroma, icy pine and crisp resin, stops me dead in my tracks. Heart racing, my airway completely tightens. Instantly, my mind flashes to the woods, resting on crunching foliage, life draining away while he gently strokes my head. Then Kai emerges from the entrance. Catching a glimpse of him strikes my chest hard. His appearance remains entirely unchanged. Blonde locks, flawless visage, and the signature grin I once associated with profound loyalty and absolute security. Currently, I only recall those stunning eyes coldly observing my demise without shedding a single tear. An absolute delight. You must be Miss Landra. Heavens, hearing his tone wrecks me. That very timbre used to offer guidance and a profound sense of belonging. Honestly, he continues, whispers of your elegance fall completely short of reality. He offers a polite dip, though the motion radiates pure violation. Maybe his lingering gaze causes it. My instincts scream to attack, yet my limbs remain completely paralyzed. Trapped like a hunted animal, I harbor deep disgust for my own weakness. Don't appear so terrified, pet, Kai whispers, closing the distance until his breath brushes my ear. I might be the villain, but I'd never damage someone so gorgeous. That nickname pierces my heart like a jagged blade. Back then, he whispered it to Arya during midnight fireside chats, gently weaving his hands through my strands. Pet. I falsely believed that title belonged exclusively to my past self. Hearing him bestow it upon Landra brings the nauseating revelation that my existence never truly mattered to him. Moisture pricks my vision, sparking intense self-loathing. I should scheme for vengeance, rather than weeping over a backstabber's recycled sweet nothings. Yet the agony is real. Heavens, realizing my utter insignificance to that man is absolutely crushing. A comforting aroma slices past my anxiety. Campfire embers mixed with rich timber, laced with fierce hostility. Instantly, Rafe materializes, standing firmly beside me. Care to explain why you are staring at my betrothed relative? My muscles miraculously relax upon his appearance, a completely absurd reaction given my self-reliance. Forgive me. Kai offers a hollow smirk. I rarely encounter Omegas, particularly those as bewitching as your partner. Bile rises at his delivery of that compliment, sounding as though he is craving a literal bite of me. I swear to end his life, merely delaying it since gazing at his face currently draws phantom copper across my tongue. Bracing my posture, I step forward to trail the two men toward the conference area. Remaining outside isn't an option. I must uncover the deceits Kai is weaving. Where exactly are you going? Rafe's sharp tone halts my progress. Joining the discussion, I answer. He gapes at me as if I sprouted an extra limb. Starting when? He questions. The moment I made up my mind. Because you made a choice? He arches a brow while the surrounding security detail chuckles at my sheer audacity. Rage ignites my bloodstream. I attempt to shove forward, but Rafe barks an absolute order to retreat. Instantly complying, my limbs step backward on pure instinct, obeying without a single conscious thought. Even more horrifying is the deep surge of validation washing over me for submitting. Smugness alters his pheromones, sending a humiliating heat straight to my core. The servant shall return you to your chambers, he dictates. I am sick of those walls. Raising my head, I insist on joining. Under what jurisdiction? His tone turns absolutely glacial. Why would you possess the right to infiltrate a classified gathering? I am your bride-to-be, I protest. That grants me full access to your side. Attempting another step triggers a deep, warning snarl from him. The bond remains incomplete, he warns with quiet steel. With that, he vanishes into the chamber, dismissing my presence entirely without a single look behind. Before the heavy wood clicks shut, I spot Kai taking the seat beside Micah, usurping a position he hardly earned, while I remain exiled, dismissed like a toddler. Chapter 6. Trembling from absolute rage, I storm across the estate while my attendants hurry after me like panicked poultry. When did Kai become terrifying? And why does Rafe's growl suddenly make me want to submit? The maid suggested heading back to my room, but I just kept pacing, desperate for action. Living as Landra definitely had benefits. The meals were divine, and that soaking tub was pure heaven. Yet all those luxuries meant nothing without true freedom or basic dignity. I was raised on leftovers in Zara's territory, constantly brawling with kids over bedding. However, I actually earned genuine admiration for my skills back then, instead of just being admired as a pretty face. Suddenly, metal clanging and heavy groans drew my focus. Instinct dragged me toward the noise before reason kicked in. What exactly is this area? I feigned ignorance, observing people brawling inside a dusty arena while gigantic beasts circled one another. Heavily built fighters ran through drills, their sweaty limbs wielding blades. Penny quickly informed me it was the combat yard. A scoff escaped me as two guys awkwardly paced. Preparing for what exactly? A midday snooze? Got an issue? Demanded an imposing guy marching over, radiating pure drill sergeant energy. The servants muttered he was Hudson, head of security. I offered a sugary grin. Just observing your, whatever you call this. A vacation? His jaw tightened angrily. Madam, this is active combat preparation. Really? Because that guy just butchered a standard block, I noted. Looked like an expert class in laziness to me. A shadow crossed the commander's face. Forgive me, but how could a fragile Omega possibly understand warfare? Fragile? I'd happily prove him dead wrong. Gesturing at a guy nearby, I noted, terrible hold. One solid strike and that sword goes flying. The other idiot is ignoring his left flank entirely. Plus, their footwork telegraphs every single move. Even a sightless newborn could evade it. Total quiet descended. Hudson eyed me curiously, while a recruit hastily corrected his stance following my harsh feedback. The soldier's following strike hit way harder. You've got sharp instincts, the commander reluctantly confessed. Under different circumstances, you'd be a decent soldier. I narrowed my eyes. Would be? Right. Got it. Since I sport nice gowns and floral perfumes, I obviously lack any lethal skills. His gaze deliberately dropped to my flawless, unblemished fingers. Expertise requires repetition, and those palms clearly haven't labored a single minute. I smirked. Want to bet? The challenge escaped my lips instinctively. Every single person in the yard froze. The guy gaped at me as if I'd proposed a naked midnight howl. A genuine chuckle finally erupted from him. You seriously want to fight? Only if you're terrified a weakling might crush you. His amusement instantly vanished. A crowd of soldiers started forming, lured by the drama, while my servants appeared absolutely horrified. Ma'am, please reconsider. 5 minutes to swap outfits. Returning in loaned workout gear, I found everyone staring. I'd normally feel honored, but these guys were obviously anticipating a comedy show instead of actual combat. The captain exhaled, essentially ignoring his own defense. You can still quit. I lunged. He deflected effortlessly, yet shock flashed across his face upon noticing my perfect form. His following parry was swift and brutal. This was my element entirely. However, while my mind remembered the choreography, this delicate flesh failed me. My limbs totally ignored the commands. Zero physical stamina from years of discipline. Okay, whatever. Brute strength was out, so strategy had to win it. Retreating swiftly, I analyzed him. A tiny lean hinted he was moving right. A tightened shoulder signaled an upward swing. My previous self would have destroyed him using those micro-expressions. Found a gap. I bluffed a leftward jab, ducked, and tripped him. He faltered perfectly, so I went for the hold. Sadly, my frail wrists couldn't trap him, and my sluggish knees ruined the finishing maneuver completely. He bounced back instantly, slamming me into the dust. Embarrassment burned my face immediately. Failing this badly in my old territory meant catching a severe thrashing or getting killed entirely. I braced for laughter. Surprisingly, he reached down with a massive grin. Genuinely incredible. The surrounding crowd actually applauded. "Flawless execution," the commander added warmly. "You just require physical conditioning to nail it. Care to join our sessions?" I gaped. But I was defeated. The captain simply shrugs, catching me completely off guard. "You used your brain, though. Clever tactics. That shows real promise." Promise. Back in my territory, having promise means absolutely nothing. You either secure the win, or you are dead weight. Why is this idiot babbling about some imaginary level 4 promise? How did my pack ever surrender to these softies? "We are calling it a day and hitting the bar," Hudson declares with a wide grin. "You ought to tag along, sweetheart." I need to know exactly who taught you that strike. I do not even get a chance to answer before two fighters hoist me onto their shoulders like a triumphant champion. The entire squad bursts into loud cheers. "To the pub," a guy yells. "Captain buys the first round. An Omega took him down." "She did not take me down," Hudson argues through a chuckle. "Almost took you down," another guy fires back. Gripping their shoulders, I feel a wave of dizziness that has nothing to do with being up high. This has to be a dream. In Zara's territory, exposing a flaw meant bleeding for it. Intrigued by this new dynamic, I allow them to carry me away. I fake Chapter 7. The pub lights cast dizzying, beautiful shapes all around us. It makes me want to twirl, belt out a tune, and maybe let out a howl. "Hit me again," I order, slamming my drained glass onto the bar. The surrounding crowd roars in approval. Well, everyone except Penny. She yanks on my sleeve, whispering, "Miss, maybe drink number 6 should be the last." I pivot toward her, barely losing my balance. Gorgeous, innocent Penny. She has no idea I used to drink Alpha Wolves under the table on a regular basis. A brief memory cuts through my buzzed euphoria. Bonfire nights, goading Kai into chugging matches. He was always such a sore loser. His hands would roam everywhere when he escorted me back to my sleeping bag. Hold on, that flashback just feels gross now. "Keep the beer coming," I declare to the entire room. Liquor fixes everything and numbs all the pain. The shared laughter echoing around me feels like pure magic warming my chest. "You are one of a kind, sweetheart," a voice chuckles. "Who exactly are you?" Leaning in as I sway, I use a dramatic whisper. "Do you really want to know my secret? I am the monster in the dark, the ghost hiding in the shadows, the deadliest thing alive." I dissolve into a fit of laughter, somehow ending up draped across Hudson's lap. He has a gorgeous face and smells fantastic, so I do not mind. His scent does not compare to Rafe, but nobody beats Rafe's scent. Mainly because Rafe is an aggravating, flawless jerk. Hudson snatches the newly poured beverage right out of my grip. Unbelievably rude. "I believe you are officially cut off," he chuckles. "You are a total buzzkill," I mutter, jabbing a finger into his chest. "Great abs, though." He clears his throat, awkwardly adjusting my weight. "We definitely need to get some water in you." "People are so friendly here," I note, squirming against his thighs. They keep complimenting my looks, which is fair enough. Everyone finds me attractive. A sudden realization makes me frown. Except Rafe. He probably thinks I am hideous. Hudson goes completely rigid. Prince Raphael. Idiotic, infuriating Rafe. I laugh, thinking about his stupidly handsome face. Peeking up at Hudson through my eyelashes, I ask, "Do you find me gorgeous?" He gulps. I have functioning eyes." I flash him a dazzling smile. "Glad somebody notices. Honestly, I should be marrying you instead." Pressing my body into his, I revel in the sharp hitch of the captain's breath. "You would know how to treat a girl, right?" His voice comes out incredibly tight. "I certainly value you, miss. You are heavily intoxicated." "I am sober," I argue, right as the tavern spins like a merry-go-round. I barely touched my glass. It is just my... Wait, what was my point? Oh, right. Check this out. Pushing myself up to demonstrate my perfect sobriety, the floorboards aggressively lunge toward my face. Instead of the ground, I crash into a hot, muscular wall. The scent hits me, campfire smoke, aged oak, and pure perfection. Rafe. I look up, flashing him a thrilled grin. Your eyes are stunning. Has anyone ever told you that? A muscle in his jaw leaps like it always does when he is furious. I do not care, though, because his strong arms are wrapped around me and all is right in the world. Captain. Rafe's tone is cold enough to shatter glass. Mind telling me why my future wife can barely stay on her own 2 feet? Hudson practically chokes on his own saliva.
Your Highness, I swear I did not know she was your...
He thinks I am hot, I chime in cheerfully. So he bought me 1, or 2, or maybe 6 teensy little drinks. A deep, lethal rumble vibrates through Rafe's chest. I feel the alpha's warning growl against my cheek as he glares at the captain. Catch my bride-to-be in a mess like this again, and there will be hell to pay. It will not happen again, Your Highness. Make certain she isn't. Next thing I know, we are in motion. Rafe scoops me up effortlessly, his intoxicating aroma instantly overwhelming my senses. Untamed wilderness, layered with deep, intoxicating musk. Absolute heaven. A sluggish, intoxicating warmth blooms beneath my flesh, melting me right into his embrace. Letting out a long breath, I bury my face into the pulse point at his collarbone, where his fragrance is most potent. I feel like I have waited lifetimes for you. His hold turns rigid. My lady, he breathes out, but my inner beast whimpers at the hidden authority lacing his tone, sending molten desire rushing through my veins. Hush, I giggle, trailing soft pecks along his jawline. I am currently executing a highly critical operation to tempt my mate. There is zero need for this, he forces out through clenched teeth. But I crave it, I counter. Every feral instinct inside me is howling at me to yield. I desperately need to prove my worth as his partner. Frankly, this raw desperation ought to infuriate me and force me to fight these physical cravings. Rather than fighting it, a wicked tremble cascades down my spine from his firm grip, urging me to mold myself against him. Resisting is entirely impossible. The moment my feet touch the floor, the entire bedroom sways and twirls in an intoxicating dance. What took you so long to mark me? I slur out while he eases me back against the mattress. Flat on my back and driven by primal urges, I expose my neck. An ultimate concession, a desperate invitation. I am utterly prepared to be bonded. Even as his gaze turns pitch black, he remains frozen. We missed out on so much time, I breathe softly, stretching my fingers toward his. Or am I only appealing when my biology takes over? You desperately need some rest, sweetheart. Though his tone is rigid and detached, his pheromones betray his arousal. I, however, have a far superior plan. Chuckling lightly, I pull him right on top of me. Our lips crash together, and I let out a soft sound at how flawless it feels. Absolute bliss. A low rumble vibrates from his chest into my lips, dissolving all my strength. For a single, breathless second, he entirely surrenders to the kiss. Cupping my cheek, his mouth becomes demanding and authoritative, perfectly coaxing out the deep devotion my physical form is dying to offer. Then he abruptly tears himself away, causing my inner animal to cry out at the sudden emptiness. A foul sensation twists in my gut at that thought, yet I forcefully shove it aside. Tonight is nothing like that. My tone crumbles into utter vulnerability as the sudden realization slips out. Your presence is the only thing bringing me joy lately. Just a handful of sunsets ago, you nearly ended it all to get out of our betrothal, Landra. Why on earth is he using that name for me? My intoxicated brain struggles to process. I am not Landra. I probably ought to correct him. Regardless, he whispers, giving my fingers a gentle squeeze. I am well aware I have been entirely unapproachable. Taking a genuine look at his face, I notice the deep purple bags beneath his gaze. No worries, I slur, awkwardly tapping his thigh. Since he stays put, I burrow even deeper, resting my cheek right against his leg. Please stop hurting. I am right here. Deep down, I know he is supposed to be my rival, and I should not care at all. Yet why? Droopy, bathed in his absolute, radiating heat.
Chapter 8. Dawn strikes my skull like a lethal weapon forged of pure silver.
Exactly how many rounds did I throw back? My final memory is sitting at that dingy pub.
Time to wake up, my lady.
Penny violently yanks the drapes apart, pulling a pained noise from my throat. Has anyone considered canceling daylight? Unfortunately, yes. Here, chug. A piping hot mug is shoved directly into my face, its horrific stench immediately triggering my gag reflex. Right before I can announce I would rather drop dead than swallow that, my door bangs wide. In sweeps my mother, raging like a green-clad tornado. "Where is your brain, child?" she shrieks at top volume. "Are you utterly blind to the mess you created?" She marches back and forth, the luxurious fabric of her gown hissing loudly with every pivot. Should the pack leader cancel this wedding, heavens above. The decades of funding, the private instructors, the etiquette classes, the medical bills. She spins to glare at me. We did not sink millions into molding you into a flawless submissive just for you to torch the opportunity, treating me as though I were merely luxury merchandise on a shelf. Is this drama over that useless boy again? She snaps. Still obsessing over Thomas after wrecking everything for that idiot? I blink, completely lost. Who exactly is Thomas? A sharp slap connects with my face. Get it through your skull that he has a mate now, she hisses poisonously. You're an absolute disgrace to our bloodline. Attempting to end it all over some pathetic boy was awful enough, and now you pull this stunt? The room tilts. And it isn't just the hangover, so Landre actually attempted suicide over getting dumped by some jerk. Prep her, Isolde barks at the servants. Lord Raphael requested her presence. Heaven knows why he wastes his time on such a failure. She storms off, her bitter rage lingering in the air. Another dose of recovery potion? Penny whispers. Please. Gulping nervously, I realize how desperately I'll require it. Following an agonizingly brief wash, they escort me outdoors to face Rafe. Sunlight bathes the gorgeous patio, while the massive breakfast feast causes my belly to rumble in betrayal. He stands upon noticing my arrival, maintaining a courteous facade. You summoned me? I purr, savoring the brief crack in his composure. He smooths his features instantly. Lady Landra, doing well today? Right. Word of yesterday's antics reached him. But he's got another thing coming if a scolding is planned. Listen, I interrupt bluntly. Sure, I drank excessively, but a woman occasionally deserves to cut loose and party. Understand? He just stares blankly. Anyway, unless there's more, I exhale, pivoting away before he calls out. Take a seat, please. Stay? I echo. I figured we might share a meal. He points toward the feast, prompting another treacherous rumble from my gut. Yet an Arya storm isn't swayed that cheaply. For what reason? Folding my arms, I dismiss my craving, and the striking azure of his sunlit gaze. Rafe chuckles softly. Considering our impending bond, spending time together hardly seems absurd. Oh, not absurd at all, huh? I scoff loudly. Hilarious, given you've practically treated me like dirt from day one. That isn't. Pausing, he inhales deeply. Please forgive my past rudeness. Over recent days, Lady Landry. His earnestness shows, but what prompted this shift? Time to push his buttons. You'll have to try harder, I provoke, offering my hand with royal arrogance. A scowl forms before melting into that recognizable grin. The exact curve of lips that once fueled my battlefield adrenaline. Pacing heat radiates from his grip on my fingers. Air grazes my wrist. Heavens above, I swallow down a whimper. Right as he escorts me to the chair, the waffles catch my eye. Dying and waking up in this body definitely has culinary benefits. I devour everything instantly, stacking every visible treat onto my dish. Are they denying you meals here? He questions with actual worry. Nope, I mumble through a bite of absolute bliss. Morning meals are my favorite, snagging another pastry. Happy to witness your recovery, he notes playfully. Recovering from what? I mumble, focus elsewhere. Yesterday evening? My chewing halts. What evening? I forgot? His grin widens now. Forgot what? Glare. Rumor says your technique yesterday was phenomenal. I stop chewing entirely. Damn it. This body shouldn't possess martial skills. During yesterday's arrogant display, I completely ignored the massive red flags it raised. Heavens, what a moron. I practically broadcasted to the whole world that the real noblewoman was gone. Think fast. An old flame trained me, I burst out, overly proud. Actually, barely a boyfriend. Super casual. We hardly, nothing beyond second base. His gaze hardens. First base. An awkward giggle escapes me. Scanning his expression confirms total honesty. And bizarrely, that indifference infuriates me. Clearly, I snap back elegantly. Considering I've been practically invisible to you since my arrival. He winces. That isn't wholly accurate. True, I sulk dramatically. You did banish me to my bedchambers like a naughty toddler once. You get off. Irrelevant, I bite back, leaving him momentarily speechless. Were you seriously hoping to sit in on yesterday's briefing? He gives me a deadpan look. Good Lord, did you genuinely believe I only showed up for your sake? I roll my eyes. Incredible. The universe doesn't revolve around you. The sudden sound of his chuckle startles us both. It's deep and real, completely lighting up his features. Briefly, my burning resentment toward him simply vanishes. Then my baseline irritation at the world returns, and I viciously snatch up a second waffle. I apologize, he murmurs, sounding surprisingly genuine. Being dismissed like that had to sting. His complete honesty catches me off balance, leaving me to just bob my head. Just so we're clear, he adds, holding my eyes. I expect my future mate to stand alongside me as an equal. If those gatherings interest you, your seat should be saved. Holy crap. I bite back a squeak of excitement. Perfect. My brain instantly starts plotting how to monitor Kai's schemes. When do they gather again? The question spills from my lips uncontrollably. Regret instantly clouds his features. Access comes after our binding and my ascension to pack leader. The current alpha holds very different views. My shoulders slump. Figures. Zara never sugarcoated Micah's disgust for omegas or female leadership. That sexism fueled her uprising. That, and the minor detail that Micah slaughtered her partner, who fathered Kai. We're just pretty ornaments to him, she would spit out, thick with lingering trauma. Believes our only purpose is popping out pups and staying beautiful. Yet Rafe entirely contradicts Zara's warnings. He's absolutely nothing like his former friend. Nausea hits me as I picture my old confidant. I remain utterly clueless on how to infiltrate and ruin his current scheme. Well, until the bond between me and the future alpha is finalized. That truth crashes over me like a freezing wave. Securing vengeance and shielding our coalition from Kai's trap means I must genuinely accept this union. Chapter 9. Later that night, I fixate on the ornate plaster above, tracking the shifting darkness. The binding ritual is 14 days away. 14 days to thwart a disaster or become permanently tethered to my nemesis. The very concept ought to trigger my flight response. Yet picturing him causes these bizarre butterflies to erupt in my gut. Snatching up a cushion, I muffle my frustrated shriek. Miss? Penny shoves the door open, trailing a second servant. Is everything okay? Peachy. I dismissively gesture them away, inadvertently bumping into the extra girl. My bad, I freeze mid-sentence. Beneath the standard issue floral soap lingers a very distinct aroma. A recognizable feral tang that feels entirely out of place within this pristine estate. She maintains a flawlessly meek posture, staring at the floor. But I could spot those features in my sleep. Willa. Our top intelligence agent is currently masquerading as domestic staff in enemy territory. Panic spikes in my chest as she quietly slips out. Her presence confirms Zara dispatched backup, proving Kai's plot warrants risking another life. Would you mind brewing a pot of chamomile? I request of Penny, carefully controlling my tone. My skull is throbbing. The second she vanishes, I pivot to the undercover agent. Your clothes. Excuse me? Strip the dress, immediately. She pauses, likely suspecting an ambush, before finally surrendering the garments. Excellent. Penny, I say the moment she reappears with my mug. You have to run interference. Tell anyone who asks that I'm sleeping off a migraine. Can you manage? She stares in shock. But miss, please don't. I grip her fingers tightly. It's literally life or death. I can assist, she begs. Anything at all. Negative. I snap back, harsher than I meant to. Lock this door and stay put. Consider it a command. Her wounded expression stings my conscience, but bruised feelings beat winding up in a body bag if our spy catches her. I know firsthand how ruthless our agent can be. Navigating the staff corridors feels like a labyrinth, yet that distinct musk leaves a clear trail. Despite my current physical fragility, my olfactory senses remain razor sharp. Her path leads straight to the guest wing, straight to him. Tremors rack my fingers as I pursue her. What is she delivering? Rebel intel, fresh commands, or perhaps a toxic draft, weapons, or an extraction plan? Security sweeps the compound like clockwork. I have spent the better part of a week tracking their routes, hunting for that single blind spot. A tight 3-minute grace period exists during the guard swap when the eastern flank sits completely unprotected. That is barely long enough for a cautious climb. Except I no longer possess my former physical strength. Carrying a simple ceramic cup exhausts these fragile limbs, so pulling myself upward seems impossible. Regardless, I must make the attempt. The wooden lattice groans beneath my grip as I ascend. I haul myself upward, step by agonizing step, my whole frame shaking from the strain. Staring at the ground is not an option. Ignore the vertigo, simply keep pushing. At last, my hands grasp the stone ledge of his terrace. Murmurs spill outward from the cracked glass doors. The silky cadence of Willa blends with a chuckle I know all too well. Hearing him sends a wave of nausea through my gut. My perch strains perilously under me as I flatten against the brick, pulse hammering, begging the shadows to hide me. The coalition has been thrown into absolute disarray, the woman murmurs smoothly. Your matriarch's followers are terrified that Arya is gone. As expected, he replies, his icy delivery chilling me to the bone. His inflection is utterly wrong. A hollow, freezing detachment laces his words, completely foreign to my ears. This stranger sounds nothing like the man who soothed my combat wounds and swore we would guard one another until the very end. Yet your mother is delighted. That revelation strikes me like a fist to the jaw. Delighted. Zara is actually happy about this. Naturally, she is thrilled. His ensuing chuckle makes every instinctual alarm in my body scream. She gave the ultimate command to slaughter my closest friend, he admits. All sensation instantly vanishes from my gripping hands. Impossible. Zara could never commit such treachery. That woman rescued my wretched soul, nurtured me, forged my power. You are the sole traitor. Willa hums with awe. I suspected as much. No ordinary soul could possibly defeat the hellish beast. Pure arrogance bleeds into his response. He is genuinely boasting about ending my life, wearing my betrayal like a badge of honor. A scalding drop traces a path down my face. Weeping. Impossible. I have shed 0 tears since my childhood days, yet this borrowed shell yields to the crushing agony of treason. To be honest, she barely resisted my blade. As he speaks, pure fury incinerates my sorrow. The struggle was pathetically brief. She likely never saw the strike coming, Willa muses softly. Considering the profound bond you two share, pure instinct drives me to drag my chin over the sill, desperate to witness his expression. I crave an explanation for how my most trusted ally can casually discuss my assassination. Anticipation had nothing to do with her surrender. A sinister shadow dances within his gaze. It is a ravenous, obsessive glint I have never witnessed, or perhaps I was willfully blind. She possessed absolute devotion to me, She embraced her execution willingly simply because I demanded it. Wood splinters beneath my crushing hold. Embraced it? I fought for every agonizing breath. He relentlessly plunged the blade into my chest as I pleaded for a reason. Her entire existence belonged to me. His tone becomes dangerously quiet, dripping with worship. Every single breath she took, every action, existed solely for my benefit. Her heart, her soul, were my exclusive property. Pure dread slithers down my vertebrae. The boy I cherished is gone. A monstrous entity stands in his place. A demented imposter has stolen my confidant's skin. She is entirely mine. His gaze snaps upward, colliding perfectly with my spying eyes through the glass. A horrifyingly wicked grin stretches his lips. My property to slaughter, my treasure to hoard. Paralysis strikes me. Oxygen vanishes. Furthermore, Willa abruptly interrupts. Your creator harbors deep anxiety regarding the impending nuptials between your relative and Landre Vittoria. He maintains deadly eye contact with me. That becomes completely irrelevant very shortly. His grin turns feral. I will seize the alpha title, and that girl will warm my bed. His promise is a sinister hiss. Watch me. The wood completely shatters. Chapter 10. Pure divine intervention allows me to hit the dirt without shattering a single bone. I remain frozen within the shrubbery outside his room for an eternity. The minutes warp into an endless, freezing nightmare. Lunar light flares and fades, yet my limbs refuse to function. My property to slaughter, my treasure to hoard. His psychotic declaration violently shreds my entire perceived reality and identity. Then, a ghost from the past emerges, the matriarch discovering my emaciated, feral form shivering at the borders of her domain. The tender caress of her palms hoisting me up, murmuring a sweet oath of eternal protection. You possess a rare gift, she whispered. Your latent power is incredibly apparent. Yet her gaze missed my humanity entirely. I was merely raw steel to forge, a disposable pawn for her chessboard. A second flashback hits. Taking my first life at merely 12 years of age, my vocal cords bleeding from shrieking while she restrained me. She made me witness the sentry's final breath. This is the true definition of devotion. This is true devotion, she used to murmur. Except it was a total lie. It never was. Dawn breaks, yet those flashbacks ruthlessly persist. Every single recollection feels tainted by this grim reality. Kai hovering constantly, his fingers endlessly tangling in my hair, trailing over my flesh with a suffocating sense of ownership, treating me like his prized animal. He used to purr whenever I finished an assignment. Such a good girl. I soaked up those compliments, starving for the slightest hint of validation. That one specific flashback I desperately tried to bury finally shatters my mental walls, back in Kai's room following an ambush. He kept forcing liquor on me the entire evening, flashing that grin I foolishly mistook for security. You believe in me, right, little one? My mind was reeling, my sight swimming as his fingers slipped beneath my garments. Please don't, I slurred. Kai, enough. Hush now. Don't you want to show your devotion? I dropped down to the dirt just in time to empty my stomach into the shrubs. How many evenings played out exactly like that? How often did he take advantage of? Another wave of nausea hits me, yet I am completely empty inside. All that remains is acid, humiliation, and the horrifying truth that my entire existence was an absolute sham. I was never a fighter. I was simply a marionette, a plaything for Kai to entertain himself with and destroy whenever he lost interest. Miss Landra! A sharp intake of breath. Fetch Lord Raphael, quickly! Fingers brush against me, causing me to violently recoil. The world turns distant and muffled, as if I am staring through a filthy river. Someone guides me indoors. Servants wash me while whispering gentle sympathies that barely register in my mind. Bless her heart. It feels exactly like the Thomas situation returning to haunt me. Except this is entirely different. It is unparalleled. mainly because my core identity has vanished. Miss Landra. A rich, booming tone pierces my mental haze. Raphael, the medic, is present. She is in profound shock, the physician notes softly. Has she endured past abuse, ma'am? Raphael's overwhelming aura suffocates the space. Who harmed you? That inquiry snaps my last remaining thread. Who harmed me? Literally, everyone. My entire reality was constructed on abuse masked as affection. Strong limbs embrace me, and that intoxicating aroma of campfire and toasted timber entirely engulfs my senses. My inner beast, previously frantic and bewildered, instantly calms at his physical contact. No one can reach you here, he whispers. The tender command woven into his tone causes my muscles to melt. He gently pets my head, offering a sensation entirely unlike my past experiences. There is zero possessiveness or pressure, only pure, unconditional solace, shielded by an alpha energy that banishes the darkness. I sob until I am completely hollowed out, leaving my vocal cords shredded and my vision stinging. I weep for the naive pup who craved acceptance so intensely that she allowed them to forge her into a blade. I shed tears for the soldier I turned into, mistakenly believing resilience meant accepting exploitation. I mourn for Landra, shattered enough to attempt fleeing through the only method available to her. Throughout the entire ordeal, Raphael's dominant aura cocoons me like a heavy quilt, effectively warding off the terrors. By the time unconsciousness finally takes over, I am listening to the consistent thud of his pulse against my cheek, bathed in a fragrance that feels like a sacred vow. Chapter 11. 7 days have gone by since my reality collapsed. I remain entirely vacant, as if someone scraped out my very essence, leaving nothing but an abandoned husk. The sole remaining truth in my life consists of Raphael's daily check-ins. He simply rests beside me, occasionally chatting, occasionally embracing the quiet. His sheer existence tethers me to the ground whenever the rest of the universe threatens to drift off. Yet this afternoon, he never showed up. I march back and forth across my bedroom as dusk settles. Panicking over potential danger squeezes my lungs. Eventually, my patience snaps. I sneak into the darkness, tracking his unique aroma down silver-lit hallways and over moisture-heavy lawns. I locate him right at the property line, where the towering old-growth trees open up into a sprawling field. A massive bonfire blazes against the glittering heavens, its inferno leaping in shades of yellow and deep red. It is the customary farewell ritual for fallen fighters. Raphael remains solitary in front of the blaze. 0 clanmates are present. There are no ritualistic beats, only a profound quiet, interrupted merely by the snapping of charred timber. Far off on the horizon, I spot tiny specks of illumination dotting the slopes. Perhaps blazing brands or memorial lamps. Hundreds of them glow out there, yet they remain distinctly distant, seemingly restrained by an unseen boundary. Did not anticipate seeing you out here, he murmurs. His back is incredibly stiff, and the darkness veiling his features artificially ages him. I step up right next to him, positioning myself near enough to catch the intense warmth of the blaze. We observe the inferno without speaking for a solid minute, until I finally muster the bravery to inquire, "Who is it? Who passed away?" "A legendary fighter," Raphael answers. "One of our wolves?" "Hardly." Frowning, I scan the area. Sensing my bewilderment, Rafe inhales deeply. "It was Arya Storm," he murmurs. Hearing my true identity spoken aloud strikes me like a literal punch. "Excuse me?" I breathe out, my legs trembling. "Wasn't she your rival?" He whips his head toward me, a savage spark in his gaze. Should that deny her a respectable farewell? His guarded tone hits me. He battled his own kin for this. He actually clashed with the Alpha and his wolves to secure my corpse a decent send-off. "Were you two close?" I managed to choke out. A melancholic smirk touches his mouth. "In a way, yet not at all." His focus returns to the blaze. "I am utterly exhausted by this conflict and the pointless casualties. Arya spent her entire existence waging wars for other people. She has earned her rest. A searing, tender heat swells inside my ribcage. How did he perceive I was trapped in a web far beyond my control, when I myself remained blind to it? "Forgive me if my words upset you, Lady Landra," Rafe remarks, completely misreading my quietness. His tone lacks real regret, feeling purely hostile. "That justifies the empty attendance, I guess," I force out. He gives a brief nod. I push to send her remains back to her territory, but my sire refused. "That was incredibly thoughtful," I murmur. Shaking his head, Rafe argues, "Hardly. It is basic decency. True justice would mean letting the people who cherished her lay her to rest. I highly suspect those were in short supply." The acidic comment escapes my lips unbidden, fueled by recent treachery. Rafe pivots to face me, a wild intensity shadowing his features. He gestures mutely toward the distant ridges past the property lines, toward the myriad of glowing specks piercing the night. "Wait." I swallow hard. "What is that?" "Her pack," Rafe replies. "Every soul capable of making the journey." I gasp softly, though he seems oblivious. "They have been assembling since dusk," he elaborates, his tone turning remarkably gentle. Gazing at the illuminated horizon, at my actual family, a long extinguished ember within my soul ignites once more. They showed up. They genuinely made the journey. Was she truly that beloved? I question aloud, barely trusting the reality. Far more than she ever realized. His expression carries a sorrowful yet authentic warmth. She offered them a future. Because of her lethal combat skills? I probe, my tone shaking slightly. Negative. The sheer tenderness in his delivery breaks my heart. Because she carried an inner radiance that drew everyone in. She defended the vulnerable and stood by her convictions, that sheer force of will. His words fade as he studies the bonfire. Biting my inner cheek is the only thing preventing a total breakdown. I genuinely believed I was merely a lethal tool, yet those distant embers represent living souls who put their faith in my actions, individuals I legitimately saved. Moisture pricks my vision. Catching sight of this, Rafe gets the wrong idea once more. "Did you assume our rivals lack basic emotions?" he presses. "It is not that simple." I silently agree. The reality is far more complicated than that. Exactly like him and myself, technical adversaries. But the truth was different. I study his silhouette against the blaze, recalling our countless skirmishes. The way he consistently fought clean, constantly striving to reduce bloodshed. I frequently stressed over his safety, acutely aware that his merciful nature might prove fatal. "You channel her energy occasionally," he admits, tossing his head as if utterly baffled by his own admission. "Your choice of words or your physical grace?" My muscles lock up, terror flooding my brain. Good heavens, what if he connects the dots? He would absolutely exile me. "She suffered a vicious betrayal," Rafe murmurs softly, "by someone she held dear. A person obligated to keep her safe." His fists tighten. I ought to have anticipated Kai's scheme, intercepted it. Hold on, how does Kai's absolute garbage fall on Rafe's shoulders? "What do you mean?" I blurt out. "You bore zero obligation." Instinctively, I stretch toward his palm, craving to offer solace, yet he deliberately pulls back. "I require some solitude right now, if you please." His posture crumbles, the sheer burden of dominance and grief bending his back. The tragic visual squeezes my heart, so I simply nod, practically choking on unspoken truths. The man is mourning my death, and I remain forbidden from confessing my presence. Retreating into the shadows, I cast a final glance over my shoulder. It finally clicks. This bloodshed destroys more than just my pack. It ruins his wolves. It breaks him. Regardless of Micah's past transgressions, one absolute truth remains clear. Rafe is breaking the cycle. He will become the exact, majestic leader our fractured world desperately needs. I'll personally guarantee he gets that opportunity. This isn't about vengeance anymore. It's for the innocent lives scattered like distant stars, the ordinary folks swept up in our conflict. It's for Rafe, too. a man who treated a fallen rival with greater respect than her commanders ever showed her while she breathed. Keeping him safe and taking down Kai and Zara is my mission. Ever since my life shattered, I finally found a reason to keep pushing forward. A genuine path I carved out myself, free from anyone else's expectations. Chapter 12. Rafe and I haven't crossed paths following the burial, which is probably ideal. Sabotaging Kai requires my undivided attention. My lack of authority is a massive hurdle. Earning actual leverage means bonding with Rafe, crowning him alpha while I take the Luna title. Gazing into the mirror, I watch the servants get me ready for the upcoming celebration of our betrothal. The staff turned Landra's features into an otherworldly masterpiece, complete with smoldering makeup and a soft pink pout. It's the picture-perfect image of a reigning female, exactly how she was groomed to appear. Except I'm an imposter wearing her skin, destined to let everyone down. Coming clean to Rafe is an option. After all, he paid such high tribute to Arya's memory. Yet admitting I hijacked his bride's physical form crosses a massive, twisted line. "Stop pouting," the elder says, breezing into the room. "Your betrothed has been absent for days. We absolutely cannot risk him second-guessing this match." She dumps a vial into some water. "Swallow this down." I eye the cup. What exactly is in there? A little boost to conquer your mate's heart? I refuse to swallow a single drop until you explain its exact purpose. She frowns, thoroughly annoyed. "Fine, it induces your cycle." I'm familiar with that biological urge, the frantic, instinctual drive that consumes bonded shifters. Though I've never gone through it myself, the rumors are legendary. A scorching desire that drives dominant males utterly insane, breaking through all restraint. No way! I shoot out of my chair. I refuse to manipulate Rafe into... Then, a wild idea sparks in my brain. Kai is attending tonight's gala. Luring him into a secluded spot while I'm radiating those pheromones would practically guarantee he attacks me. That kind of assault would force even Micah to execute him. It's a horrifyingly reckless scheme, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I grab the drink. "There's my clever girl," Isolde smiles brightly. "The symptoms should hit within 60 minutes. "What kind of symptoms?" I ask. She just flicks her wrist. "Nothing a strong woman can't manage." I honestly assumed these cycles only drove the dominant males insane with lust. The idea of suffering physical symptoms myself never crossed my mind, though it couldn't be unbearable, could it? However, the elder adds, unclasping an intricate chain from her own throat, just in case things take a bad turn. It's a tiny metallic pendant encased in fine wirework. "Keep this close." "What's inside?" I ask. Her mouth tightens into a judgmental line. "Did you dump every lesson regarding your cycles straight out of your head? The sheer risks involved? It takes everything in me not to snap that she hasn't educated me on a damn thing. Opting to stay quiet, I study the heavy piece while she locks the clasp at the nape of my neck. "Inside sits a tranquilizer strong enough to fake your own demise," she murmurs, her tone dropping. "If your mate fails to protect you, or refuses to step up while you're vulnerable, swallow it. It guarantees a painless escape." Her gaze turns to ice, making absolutely certain no rival forces themselves upon you. The unspoken reality of that statement makes me want to throw up. "Submissives like us can't win with brute force," she states, fixing the chain's position. "Our survival demands cunning. Toxins, sleep aids, and antidotes. Those are our true blades." Stepping away to inspect her work, she locks eyes with me. "You need to learn how to forge a weapon out of vulnerability, Landra, or the crown will surely break you." An entirely hidden realm of shadow tactics suddenly blossoms in my mind. I spent a lifetime mastering hand-to-hand combat and shifting forms, completely blind to the fact that battles could be fought with subtlety. Fingers brushing the deadly pendant, my brain spins with new strategies. Apparently, this submissive class isn't quite as helpless as I assumed. "Penny," I murmur a few moments later while we walk to the party. "I'm calling in a massive favor." The maid steps closer to listen. "I plan to corner Kai in private this evening," I confide. "Give us a few minutes, then hunt down Rafe so he can walk in on us. Are you up for it?" She stares at me in shock. "Ma'am, that sounds incredibly risky." "I can handle it," I say, giving her fingers a reassuring grip. "Just drag my mate, or someone with authority, into that room." She bobs her head in hesitation, and I force myself to look past her blatant panic. Failure isn't an option here. My playbook is completely empty. Still, as the grand doors loom closer, a creeping dread whispers that this entire scheme is destined for disaster. My betrothed is standing at the summit of the elegant steps, and my heart does a treacherous little flip the second our gazes lock. "You're absolutely stunning," he murmurs. A sudden ache hits me, wishing he had looked at Arya with that same awe, the authentic warrior covered in battle marks and rough skin. Slipping my hand into the crook of his elbow, we step down into the gala. A classical ensemble plays while heavy designer fragrances and buzzing gossip fill the room. Every single eye tracks our movement. Naturally, as the impending pack leaders, we command attention. Yet those constant stares dig into my flesh like sharp claws. Can they tell I don't belong here? That my performance is an absolute disaster? Stepping off the final stair, he lets me go. Every fiber of my being aches to snatch his fingers and drag him far from this suffocating crowd. "Everything okay?" He returns instantly, reading the anxiety in my pheromones. "Perfectly fine," I lie, pasting on a grin and forcing my mind back to the mission. Locating my target is the only priority. I cannot get distracted by the overwhelming security radiating from my escort, or the way his unique aroma soothes the wild thrumming in my veins. His palm settles warmly against my lower spine. "Care for a spin?" he murmurs. Unable to speak, I simply agree with a head bob as he guides me toward the music. A sudden heat ripples outward from where we connect. Is the temperature rising? The surrounding gala vanishes, leaving only the intoxicating, head-spinning rush of his cedar and musk. Perhaps my lightheadedness actually comes from his intense stare. Those azure irises are completely shadowed with unspoken desires. He gently sweeps his thumb along my lumbar curve, igniting literal sparks across my nerve endings. "A moment, please." The reigning leader's sharp tone shatters our private, heated bubble. My partner clenches his teeth, reluctantly creating space between us. "Right away, sir." I stare at his retreating back, feeling completely off balance. The phantom ghost of his fragrance sticks with me, completely scrambling my thought processes. Guests keep coming up with well wishes, yet it all sounds like underwater static. My entire awareness is locked onto that man by the bar. The muscular shift beneath his tailored suit, the firm grip of his fingers wrapping a crystal goblet. Imagine those same fingers pressing into my... Stop. Get it together. Where is my target? Yet his intoxicating aura is everywhere. Imagine if he stormed back over, slammed me against the nearest pillar, and devoured my lips right here. A soft, involuntary whimper slips out, instantly drawing curious glances from nearby aristocrats. Heavens above, this is bad. My entire body is hyper-aroused. Even the friction of my gown feels like electricity dancing across my flesh. Catching another glimpse of him makes my instincts scream to submit, to plead for his bite. I violently tear my gaze away. Is this escalation going to continue? Will my rational mind completely snap? If my escort catches this primal pheromone spike, what then? Will he just toss me over his shoulder and drag me upstairs? Another needy sound bubbles up, so I quickly slap a palm over my lips. I must locate my enemy this instant before this supernatural fever completely fries my sanity. "Ah, Lady Landra." The freezing, crisp tones wash over me like a winter storm. Spinning around, I lock eyes with my future killer, his blonde waves catching the opulent overhead crystals. "May I have this next song?" he purrs smoothly. His calculating gaze sweeps down my figure, getting stuck on my exposed pulse point. It travels further down to my plunging bodice. Swallowing hard, I suppress a shudder. Here is my opening. "I hardly think that's proper," I whisper softly, leaning fully into the timid role. My partner is currently busy. A thoroughly wolfish grin stretches across his face while he stares at my mouth. A single spin won't cause a scandal. Offering his palm, his breathing hitches. A clear sign he's intoxicated by my pheromones. Baiting this trap was the entire objective. So why is my inner wolf begging me to flee for my life? Gritting my teeth, I let my fingers fall into his grip. Hang tight, Chapter 2 is up right now. Simply follow the web link below. Really glad you tuned in for Chapter 1. A few eagle-eyed fans probably realized this tale originally debuted a while back. However, I wanted to revamp it completely with a cinematic upgrade. Expect a totally fresh narrative dropping in 7 days. Plus, if you want more, an extended premium release is sitting over on my private creator page. Kisses, Lily.